Hello there. Good day. Good morning to US. Good afternoon to UK and Europe. Deliberately two separate things there. Oh, I don't know. And good evening to India. I'm really glad that you've been able to join. Thank you very much for joining indeed. And thanks to all the recent followers as well, including I think it's W. Ridjo or Ridjo, Coco the Parrot, Elvin C. Cheng, SAP Baby, Jewel Wes. So thank you all so much for following and thanks for joining. So this is a sort of a midweek, obviously it's midweek because it's Wednesday. This is one of the midweek episodes, and I'll talk about the slight change to this midweek episode thing shortly. Hey Fred, good afternoon to you. I'll talk about that slight change shortly. So yeah, it's going to be an hour. I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to be a little bit of a brain squeeze. I've been looking at some bits and pieces today, but I think it's going to be fun as well. So without further ado, let me move into, hey Mahesh, how are you doing? How are you doing? Let me move to my main scene. I'm wearing my SAP for Developers jacket, even though it's quite warm. I've got the window open. It's a lovely sunny day, which I've had to sort of close the blinds. I can't see. So I guess, yeah, let me move to my main scene. And I noticed that actually today, or in the next few hours, we're going to pass a fairly interesting, in a nerdy point of way, milestone, which is the Unix epoch time, which I think is the number of seconds since the 1st of January 1970. And this is these seconds are the basis upon which all systems, all Linux systems, Unix systems keep their time. Right now, the Unix epoch time is approaching 1,555,555,555. It will be in the next few hours, maybe overnight. I saw this nice little post, tweet from one of the people I'm following, a command line sort of person, and we're using Figlet and also Lolcat to produce a nice large display from the date thing there. So there we go. That the actual thing was that. There we go. Wild date. And I'm actually running this on another machine, which is over there. I've been playing around with Arch Linux, but maybe more on that another time. So anyway, I can get rid of that now. Okay, so what have we got in store? What I wanted to mention was that we have always had, and we always will have, a regular weekly Friday slot, which is this one. That's fine, and we all know when that is. And I had this occasional midweek slot, but basically it was too occasional and too random. And of course, even though I knew when it was going to happen because it was in my head, nobody else did really. So what I've done, and I think we decided this a couple of weeks ago, it's now a regular midweek slot every 2 weeks, every fortnight. So at least you can keep track of when that's going to happen a little bit more easily. So we've got a regular weekly Friday slot. So the next Friday slot, of course, is this coming Friday, which is a holiday, a public holiday in here in the UK and in many countries in Europe. But we're still doing the normal slot. And Max Streifeneder, who was on last Friday, is coming on again, and we're going to look at more cap stuff with Java. I'm really excited about that. Some debugging, some more sort of Java-based extensions, hooks and so on. So we'll look at that on Friday. So yeah, this is the first of the regular fortnightly midweek slots. So the next one of these is going to be in 2 weeks' time. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's that. I follow a number of Twitchers. Twitchers? Is that the right term? People who live stream on Twitch. Twitchers is the name. I knew the word sounded familiar. A Twitcher in British English at least, is a bird watcher. Somebody who looks at birds and identifies them and writes them down. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a sort of a bird equivalent of a train spotter. I don't know. Anyway, so I follow a number of live streamers, coding live streamers. I've mentioned a couple in the past. So I thought, every week I want to introduce, or every time I want to introduce another one that I follow. And in fact, the person who really helped me the most indirectly, passively, get started in live streaming is Suze Hinton, who goes by the name of, well, I've been pronouncing Noopcat, but I think really it's No-Op Cat, No-Op being, no operation. Awesome live stream channel. She does all sorts of really cool stuff in the sort of open source context with JavaScript, Node.js based JavaScript, and also front-end JavaScript, and really cool IoT things. So not only software hacking, but also hardware hacking. So I would definitely recommend you follow Noopcat, Suze Hinton. In fact, I will paste the URL. Hey, Sue, how you doing? Welcome. I'm going to paste that in here. That's a link to the videos on her Twitch channel. So that's that. Okay, one of the things that I mentioned in the, I think it was in the chat. In fact, let me bring up the chat. If you haven't seen this already, we have in the SAP Mentors and Friends SAP Mentors and Friends Slack workspace, which is sapmentors.slack.com. We now have a hands-on SAP dev channel, fairly laid back. It's not meant to be sort of, a really talkative thing. It's just a way for us to reach out to each other, now and then while, we're not online. And in there, I posted something about, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do today, and I got some thumbs up from John and Nabheet and Fabienne and Mahesh and Pierre and Volker. So thanks very much for giving me the thumbs up there. So we're going to do that today. One of the things I was thinking about was we have, because in this chat here we have the a number of questions that people have been asking questions. So I said to Fabienne, for example, why don't you ask the question on answers.sap.com? Because that's, I think, a better place, not only for us to go through the mechanics of asking and answering questions, but also, more people benefit from seeing the questions and seeing the answers if they're in the community and other people can see them and they can follow the tag. So there is a tag for SAP Cloud Application Programming Model, which is this one here. So I'll put the link to that also in the stream there. I'm in two minds as to whether these, these GUID based tag names in the URLs are nice or not. I mean, obviously, it makes sense, but I don't really like them. But anyway, so there's a number of questions in here already. I've started to try and do some gardening from the wiki concept of gardening, tidying things up and, re-editing things when things have been not quite correctly tagged or whatever. So we've had some questions in there that weren't CAP related, so I've removed the tag, etc., etc. And I've started to try and answer some questions. Very, very early days. So here, for example, Balbino asked a question about localized strings, and I answered a question there. And in putting, in thinking about how I might solve his question or answer his question, I found myself thinking, well, I need to sort of spin up a really simple CAP project, Node.js in this case. What are the things I might want to do when I'm answering more questions? I want to be able to sort of spin up a project really quickly, start running it straight away, make some modifications, have those modifications take on, be taken straight away and, refresh the browser and there it is. So a little bit, sort of a bit of work, thinking about workflow and how we might do that. So we're going to hopefully cover a little bit of that with VS Code later on in this particular episode, because I've found a nice way of using NodeMon in that context, which is sort of maybe obvious, but we'll have a look at it anyway. So that got me, the Q&A in SAP Community on answers.sap.com got me thinking about how I and maybe others might go about sort of preparing themselves to more quickly and more easily slip into a nice workflow of answering a question. So that's that. I need to put that was one of my things to prep. I always put that little live thing there. There you go. And don't forget as well, I'm going to ask you, because I forgot to ask you last time, so please remind me to ask you feedback at the end of every episode. Really, really quick feedback here. That's all there is. And all you need to do is choose the episode, of course. The most recent one is at the top of this list here. If you're interested, by the way, in how I did that, I'm feeding this form programmatically with a list of episodes that I keep in another spreadsheet somewhere where I actually keep track of the stats for that stream and everything. So if you're interested in a little bit of Google Apps script, which I use to do that, then let me know. We'll do that in another sort of midweek off-piste stream. Okay, so that's that. Let me move that down there, and let's get started. So what do we want to do? Well, I want to take us on a little bit of a journey through editing CDS sources from CAP projects. And this, of course, applies to not only the Node.js flavor of CAP, but also the Java flavor of CAP, because we're talking about CDS here. CDS is CDS in this case. And we've covered a little bit of this before. There was another Wednesday stream there. We looked at a little bit of this where I was just finding my way in various tools in Vim to get some language server protocol stuff up and running. Since then, I've been having a look, and I found a slightly better way. So let me bring up the browser here for a second. Where is it? There we go. Let's bring up a browser window over here. Okay. What I was using was this thing called Language Client, which allows me to connect to a language server protocol-based language server and benefit from that language server's knowledge of the language in question, which in this case is CDS. Now, I got so far with this language client and the configuration, but the way that it operated was sort of synchronous in that the actual checking of the CDS syntax, for example, happened when I saved the file and so on. And I wanted things to happen in the background. Did some digging, and I found an amazing Vim plugin called ALE. Now, of course, this appeals directly to me because it's about Vim, it's about linting, it's about syntax, and it's about beer. So, what can go wrong? So the asynchronous lint engine is something I've been playing with and want to share with you. Let me know if you've heard of this in the past, but this is a plugin that will work out of the box with various linters, including ESLint, for example. And you can configure it as well to work with language server protocol servers. It will work with some language server protocol servers out of the box. For example, there's a TypeScript language server. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. And there's a language server for TypeScript, which will also provide language server services for JavaScript as well, for the subset. In fact, so I've installed that, and I've also installed npm list global. If you played around with me with episode, I think in episode 1 or episode 2, I can't remember. We know what this is doing. This is saying, show me the list of npm packages that I've installed globally. All I've got is the SAP CDS package, and note that I've updated that recently, since last time actually. It was 3.5.2. Even though, of course, when you install the CDS or when you initialize a CAP project, the CDS SAP CDS module in that project will be the latest one because of how that whole sort of module system works, and we looked at that in a couple of episodes ago, how that works. This CSV filter thing is my little local CSV filter project that I've installed globally. I've got npm, which is part of, obviously itself. And then today I've installed the TypeScript NPM module and also the TypeScript language server. Now, I can't remember, I've completely going to have a go at this. Test.js const a equals 1, console.log a, there we go. Oh, there we go, yes. So out of the box, okay, if I make a typo, a JavaScript error, it will say straight away that there's something wrong with that line here, which is really nice. And also you get things like let's say if I say here double equals is a function that takes an x and multiplies it by 2, double 2. There we go. Now I can also say ALE go to definition, and it will jump up to the definition of that double segment. So that's just an example of the language server protocol being used between Vim and the TypeScript language server that provides sort of syntax checking, linting, and also features like go to reference that we've just seen there. Let's just do that again. ALE go to definition. So if I do that again, ALE go to definition, it will just jump straight there. This is a plugin then. ALE is a plugin that I've installed in my Vim configuration directory, which you can see, in fact, if I quit out of here and go into, let's go into Ranger actually and go into my Vim, you can see here I installed it as a bundle there. So here's the ALE plugin installed, and you can see that it's got a number of linters built in, or it's got a number of configurations for standard linters built in. So you can see, for example, the JavaScript one, it's got a number of them. ESLint, FECS, TS server, for example. So that's the thing that bootstraps and connects to the, let me just go into that so it's nicely syntactically highlighted. This is the thing that bootstraps and connects to the TypeScript language server that we were getting all that sort of nice goodness from just before. So what I wanted to do was to figure out if I could use ALE with the language server protocol server implementation for CDS that comes in the VSIX, in the Visual Studio extension that we saw, that we unpacked a few episodes ago. And it turns out that you can. Bit of head scratching, but I'm much happier with the way this is put together. I'm still not quite there yet in terms of the way I've built the mechanism, glued it all together, but I'm looking for input from you here. So anyway, I've just noticed, by the way, I'm using this Dracula theme, as you know here, Dracula theme. I chose this because, again, Suze Hinton, NoOpCat, was using this, and I thought it's a really nice theme, and also it's consistent. You can use it for all sorts of things, including there's a theme for Vim, there's a theme for iTerm2, and so on. And a few episodes ago, I just happened to have like a purple jumper on and a blue shirt, and that was a Dracula theme, sort of what I was wearing as well. But I've just noticed that the current RGB on my keyboard is also Dracula themed. How good is that? So I'm quite pleased about that. That was completely by accident. Anyway, so I've installed ALE, and we're going to try and use that and connect it to the LSP for CDS that comes with the Visual Studio Code extension. So more on that shortly. Let me know if you're still following. Oh yes, the number of viewers hasn't gone down, so I'm not putting you off completely yet. So yeah, let me know if this is something that you've tried before already. Are you using VS Code? Are you using WebIDE? Are you using something else? I know John, for example. I think John, you're on, aren't you? You're a is it WebStorm person? Do you use WebStorm for CDS? I'm not sure. Anyway, so what we want to do is start building up a small plugin for CDS, and we can add all the stuff there, so it's at least all in one place. So I will go into my Vim folder. And in fact, no, what I want to do is I want to create this as a separate project. So let's go into the project folder, and I'll create a Vim CDS folder, okay, directory. See, I'm saying folder again because I've seen folder in some documentation I read today, and it's really annoyed me. I've been forcing myself to say directory, 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 especially when I write blog posts and everything and documentation. I want to be consistent, directory. But now I'm saying folder. What do you call it? Let me know. Let me know. So anyway, one of the basic things we need to do first of all, in order to be able to start doing anything with CDS sources, is to recognize the fact that we're dealing with or get Vim to recognize the fact that it's dealing with a CDS file, so it can do other stuff. And I've been looking into how plugins are made, and there's a series of directories, sort of standard name directories, and there's an FT detect file type detect directory that we want to install or create a what's it called? A file called cds.vim, and that file here, all we want to do is say auto command buff read buff new file. If we open a buffer with a new file, or we read into the current buffer buff read anything beginning or anything called *.cds. We want to set the file type equal to CDS. Now, I'm not going to save that yet. What we'll do is we'll open up a new window in Tmux here. Let me just go into temp, and I'll create CDS init modules db serve. Let's call it. Oops. CDS init modules db serve episode 19. Okay, let's create a new cap project with db and serve directories already there, and these will automatically get populated with the sort of that sample data. So let's go into that. Let's have a look. Yeah, let's go straight in like this. Episode 19, and we've got here our data model.cds, and if we edit it, what we see, or what we don't see, we don't see a lot of stuff. What we don't see is any sort of syntax highlighting. Sort of obvious when you think about it, because why would there be right now? And also down here, I'm going to use my mouse now. Down here on the status bar, if I say, for example, vi test.js, you will see that it's recognized that the file type is JavaScript. Okay, so it can do various things like that. For example, do some syntax highlighting, etc. Right, and connect to the LSP, connect with the LSP to a language server. But if we say, let's just go vimdb data model.cds, it doesn't recognize that at all as anything. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back here and save that. Now that is in a project called local project vim cds ft detect. What I'll need to do to tell Vim about this is I want to really have this project folder either directly or sort of symbolically linked in the bundle directory of my Vim setup. So I'm going to go to here, go into bundle. In fact, no, I'll go to projects, copy that, and then go into bundle and put it as a link. So there we go. So we've now got a symbolic link from the bundle directory in Vim to the Vim CDS folder in my projects. Now, for those of you who would like to see that on the command line as well, let me just quit out of that. Let me go into Vim cd bundle, and if we look at that, let's do that again, a bit higher up, since my head's not in the way. you'll see that there's a symbolic link going from Vim CDS to the Vim CDS folder in my local projects directory. So now if we open up that data model again, lo and behold, down here, I'm pointing with my mouse, not at the actual screen, but the screen on OBS, which is over there. So I'm confusing the hell out of myself. In fact, why don't I move that up there so I can't sort of see that? There we go. Yes, there we go. Perfect. So there is the CDS file type recognized. Okay, so now we can start doing things with that. So what we'll do is we'll quit out of there. Did I just type somewhere else? Yeah. What we'll do is we'll go into our Ranger again, go back to Vim CDS, and now add another directory, standard name, called syntax, where we can start adding some syntax highlighting. We did a little bit of this before, but I sort of introduced it all in one go without really explaining it. So let me just introduce it a bit by bit. If we create a folder called syntax, and in that folder create a file again called cds.vim by convention, in there we can actually, in fact, if I read temp cds.vim, there we go. So that's where you start with syntax. Okay, so we've got here a little bit of a wrapper. So if the syntax has already been set, effectively this is Vim script. If the syntax has already been set, then abort, don't do anything else, just sort of finish. Otherwise, do stuff syntax wise, and then at the end sort of set the syntax to be CDS. Okay, so that's what we want to do here. And a really basic, in fact, why don't I go here? There we go. Yes, I'll temp, what would you call it? Episode 19 db data model.cds. There we go. There we go. That's fine. So we can now start messing around on the left-hand side with some syntax and see if it works on the right-hand side. And in fact, what I've got here is an example. So we can say here, this example serves to help me explain how this whole thing works. We can say syntax match. And by the way, the reason I'm talking through this in this detail is that I would like to think that this is something that we could possibly work on together. I know that not everybody is a Vim user, but I know that some people are. So those people, if you're interested in working on this with me, let me know and I'll go through the process of making this into a proper Vim plugin, going through the process so that allows me to make it open source within the SAP context, and then we can mess about with that together, which I think would be a really nice thing. But let me know. So what we're going to do is, this comes in, the syntax highlighting comes in pairs of things. We go, we match areas, and then we highlight or define highlights for those matched areas. So we can say match, and we give it a name, CDS comment. That's just a label, for example. And then we can say, in fact, I'm going to, rather than type it all, I'm just realised the time, rather than type it all, I'm going to go into here, store episode 19, 19, what is it called? Vim CDS, syntax, cds.vim. There we go. So let's just have those two things there for now. Yeah, perfect. And then also what I'll have down here is this thing here. Let me explain. Okay, so what we've got is, just ignoring this one for now, what we've got here is we're matching comments. Now, I've not got any comments in, so let me go across here to add some comments in CDS. This is a comment. This is also a comment over multiple lines. Okay, so we want that sort of highlighted as comments, right? So what this will allow us to do is to say, okay, we want to match with very magic mode. You might have seen me tweet about this. I was looking into this yesterday. Very magic mode, which allows us really to sort of write regular expressions in the same way we'd write them elsewhere, for example, in awk or sed or perl or anywhere else really. And this, what we're saying is we're matching an escaped / that's an escape / followed by another escaped / followed by any number of anything right to the end of the line. Dollar is the end of the line. So that really should match the style of comment that we see here on line 3. And the other thing here is a region. So it's, it has a start and an end. So it starts with very magic. It starts with a / and then an escaped star, / star, asterisk, and ends with very magic, asterisk, / So okay, so that's what we see here. There's the start and there's the end. Okay, so we've got that, and once we've defined different things to match, different things to find, we can then use the highlight link approach to say, well, I want to highlight anything that's labeled a CDS comment as a so-called comment. And these are sort of well-defined types of things that they sort of abstract away color schemes from different types of syntax. So you'll have comments, you'll have functions, you'll have constants, you'll have keywords, you'll have variables, all these sorts of different types of things. Okay, if we do a help group names, there we go here. So we can see here all these different types of things. You can sort of we can define them as, and then other people who like to do color schemes can define their color schemes that match these different things here. So there's like a meeting of this abstract, two different levels of abstraction. Okay, so we've changed that, but what we need to do is turn syntax off and on again. We can go out and in again. So I'm going to say syntax off and then syntax on. There we go. And so now we sort of restarted the syntax highlighter. We can see that these lines are being highlighted as comments. Now just to show you that we've got that under control, if we say function, for example, is a different type of thing which will be colored in a different way, probably. We can say, this is the Dracula theme, we can say, oops, do that again, and now they're highlighted again, but just in a different color. Okay, cool. Okay, so we've got that. So what I'll do now is I'll just show you what we've got in terms of, let's just delete that and read in the whole thing. There we go. Okay, so really, this is why I've copied this all in, because this is a ton of stuff. What I've done is I've had a look inside the Visual Studio Code extension for CDS and for CAP to see how they define things. It's quite interesting to see. In fact, we have a look. Let's bring this across here. tools.hannah.ondemand.com. Come on, website. And look in the cloud section down here. If we download this, we've downloaded this before, but there we go. Also, I've got a nice Chrome extension to get rid of that thing down there, so that's fine. Let's now go into temp and have a look here. Where is it? Move desktop VSIX VS Code to here, and make their VSIX CDS 1.1.1 CDSX. And we remember that this VSX file is actually a tarball, so we can say tar xzf VSIX. Where is it? Oh, VS Code. Sorry, VS Code. VS Code. There we go. Right. And now we can see in here in the extension that we have this syntaxes directory. So this is inside the Visual Studio Code extension that the team in SAP have put together for Visual Studio Code for working with CAP and CDS. And inside the syntaxes directory, we have a couple of files, CDS configuration JSON and CDS TM language. Just to orientate ourselves, we've already had a look in here, and we'll have a look in here shortly again in a previous episode, to see that actually inside the extension they're using some SAP NPM modules, specifically the CDS compiler module and the CDS and a specific CDS LSP module, language server protocol module as well. The CDS compiler module is used in the normal CDS command line package, but CDS LSP is actually only available inside this VSIX, inside this Visual Studio Code extension. Anyway, let's go back to the syntaxes, and it turns out that TM language, TM is short for TextMate, and this is a style of language syntax definition that was used in TextMate bundles. TextMate was an editor, or is an editor, on the Mac, very, very popular editor of its time, and this is a way of doing it. And it's actually, to be honest, in my opinion, it's fairly horrible to look at in that it's this sort of Apple P list, property list based sort of XML, which itself, XML is not so bad, but the way it's used here is just awful. Anyway, if we have a look, we can say, we know, for example, that in CDS we have association to, many, etc., etc. So I've been digging around in here and sort of extracting knowledge from this and translating it into the match mechanisms, the match syntax. Let me just get rid of this for a second. There we go. Let me get rid of this for a second. Into the match syntax that the Vim script understands. So I'm saying I've taken this association thing, that association string, and moved it across to here to say, well, with Very Magic, it starts with a word boundary and then is association to one, association to many, or association to nothing, or it's composition, or it's this, not the other. And then where I've taken something from this plist thing here, this sort of the Visual Studio extension, I've taken the name of the thing that the folks have called it, so support.class.cds. Interestingly enough, if we have a look at, let's just go into here, episode 19. If we open up Visual Studio Code and have a look inside the DB module, the DB folder, and look at data model.cds, you'll see, of course, it's syntax highlighted because of this TM language thing. But there's a really cool feature in VS Code you can use to understand what it's using to work out what bit of the source is what syntax-wise. If you use the menu here, you can say in the developer mode, inspect TM scopes, inspect TextMate scopes. So now if I move down here, we can see that, for example, entity is from the source.cds scope, but more specifically a subscope called keyword.strong.cds. Okay, and these things here, if we, for example, say X association to, for example, and then we'll open up that again. Oh, there we go, wrong key. We can see that association support.class.cds. Was that one there? Support.class.cds. Amazing. Okay, so this is how it all links together. A lot of digging around to find that, but I suppose I could have asked somebody, but where's the fun in that? I don't learn anything by doing that. So this is how it all fits together. And so what I've done is I've translated that into the Vim equivalent. There's some bits and pieces I've not quite, there's some bits and pieces that I've still not properly matched it, like the equals sign, but basically now I've got all the different things from the TM language definition, and where I've taken them from there, I'm using the labels where the word CDS is at the end. So keyword strong CDS, support class CDS, just like support class CDS is written here. and so on. And where they're mine, I start them with CDS. So CDS other stuff, CDS annotation, and so on. I'm using CDS annotation because I don't like the way that they annotate or they syntax highlight the annotations in CDS. So I do it a little bit differently. So anyway, the upshot of that is that if I go now into, we don't need that anymore. If I go now into where's our project? Ep.19, DB, data model. There we go. We get all sorts of lovely syntax highlightings. There's lots of bits and pieces. And in fact, I think, yeah, let's go into the service, cat service. Yeah, look at that. We've got some really nice syntax highlighting. We've got the strings in single quoted string syntax highlighted, DB data model. We've got the @ annotation, read only. It's nicely green there. I think it was sort of in the same color as a comment in the standard CDS syntax highlighting in Visual Studio Code. Anyway, so I'll change that. So I'm quite pleased with that. So let's now jump to adding the mechanism we need to get the CDS LSP language server working as well with this. How are we doing okay? Are we doing okay? Are you still with me? All sorts of things to show. We could dig in a little bit more, but let's just get this working, and maybe we'll have a look on another Wednesday one, a little bit in more detail as to how it works. So what we want to do is we want to, yes, in fact, what I'll do it really quickly here. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of this one. Let's go over here. So what we want is in our plugin, we want another couple of things. I'll just copy them in. So bundle Vim CDS. So we're in here now. What I need to do is essentially, well, let's do it the other way around. What is essentially go into ALE, and in the ALE linters, add a new directory here. Now, this is not exactly how I want to do it permanently, because of course this is me making modifications to the ALE plugin. Oops, ALE plugin. But let's do it this way for now, just to get it working. So I'm going to make a directory called CDS. And there it is. I'm going to go into that directory, and rather than create any file there, I'll put all the stuff actually in the Vim CDS project. So let me go to the project again and go in there. And now what I've got actually in store is I've got this thing. So here's stuff I prepared earlier. In Vim CDS, I've got CDS LSP, which I'll talk about shortly. I've got start CDS LSP and CDS.vim. So I'm going to copy CDS.vim and start CDS LSP to local project Vim CDS, to there. And the CDS LSP, because you can do this as well. I didn't want to do anything this time round that you can't do at home. But the CDS LSP is literally the folder, the directory, extracted from the Visual Studio Code extension. So if we quit out of here, in fact, no, actually, let's not quit out of here. I'm trying to use range and more. I'll go to temp, and if we have a look inside of the, where is it? There, in here, node modules, SAP, CDS LSP, that's the thing. That's the thing that we need to grab. Okay, so if we copy that, let's do it sort of extra. Well, Shrikant, this is a great question. That's what I want to get to, but right now I'm just thinking in terms of baby steps, just getting things going, and then thinking about this. I think the best way to do this is for me, I suppose, with your help, to persuade the folks internally to release CDS LSP as an independent module on npm.sap.com. All the other SAP CDS modules are on npm.sap.com. This one isn't, and I don't understand what. Well, yeah, I don't see why it can't be. So that would be the way, okay? But let's just work out how to do it first, and the fact that we can get it working. And then that's a bigger reason for saying, look, this should be really on, this would be great to be on npm.sap.com. So right, yeah, of course, we don't want to have to go in and extract it out of VSIX every time. So is that good with you, Srikanth? Are you going to help? You should help me reach out to the folks in the CAP CDS team and put that to them. What do you think? So I'm going to copy this and bring it across to. Let's go to the project down here and bring it across to here. Paste it in there. So we've got CDS LSP. Okay, notice it hasn't got the node modules. We need to do an npm install to install all that stuff. And we've got the cds.vim, which looks like the thing we saw right at the very start, which is sort of a bootstrapping thing. This is what I wrote this morning, once I'd worked out what I was doing, to basically find the starter that will kickstart the CDS LSP mechanism, which we've seen a few episodes, episode 1 or episode 2, but do it in a way that ALE understands and can use to make use of asynchronously. Okay, so this is how it all works. Also, what we're doing here in this line here is we're saying, well, it needs to know the path of the folder itself that we're trying to lint in. So I'm saying look for a file called .cdsrc.json, which is in all sort of CDS initiated projects, and so on and so forth. We'll maybe look at this a little bit more in detail another time. So we've got that. So all we need to do now is go into, go back into our ALE folder, which is in the Vim bundle. And actually no, what we want to do is take a copy of this. Again, I'm still trying to remember how to use Ranger properly. I can yank that file here, go to the Vim bundle, into ALE, into the linters, into CDS, and paste a link. So now we've got, and again, for those command line people, let's go into Vim, CD bundle, ALE linters, CDS. So now what that's done is created a symbolic link from cds.vim to that cds.vim file I've just copied into there. Okay, so fine. Is that all we need? Let's see. No, because what we need to do as well is go into our cd vim cds folder, into the CDS LSP folder, and run npm install, because if we look at package.json, we'll see that it's got a number of dependencies, including CDS compiler, Antler 4, and all sorts of different stuff. So let's go into the command line and say npm install, which will look at the dependencies in the package.json and install those packages. So now, if we look, we've got a node modules directory, and inside there we've got the CDS compiler, which of course is needed. Right, now then, so let's check. We've got in our Vim, we've got our Vim CDS, which has got the file type detector script. Yep, it's got the syntax script, and it's now got our little ALE bootstrapper, which we're linking to. And the bootstrapper, as you can see here, right at the end, calls start CDS LSP, which is something I've written again, is sort of trying to figure out what I'm doing and how to start this all off. And that is a really simple thing here that sort of makes things a lot easier for me. All it does is find out the directory that this script is in, and then call the language server protocol server that's part of the CDS LSP package. Okay, and that's this thing down here. So first of all, we say what directory am I in, and then use that to prefix the node call to start up the server in standard IO mode. As in, this is one of a small number of ways that language servers work and the language server protocol works. So that's how it works. So, okay, let's quit out of here. We've also got in our ALE folder, where is it? ALE, there we go. In linters, we've now got a CDS folder with the cds.vim that points to that. So now, shall we try it? Let's just, I think I've got too many things open here. I'm too excited. So let's just, yeah, let's try it. If we go into our episode 19, sample data, and oh, there we go. Yes. Oh my God, it worked. And we can see down there, it's to the not to the naked eye. What's the phrase I'm looking for? To the uninitiated. It's not that obvious, but in what ALE does and what most language server clients will do is that they'll highlight where the errors are by default in the most basic way in the so-called gutter, or in this, I think in Vim it's called the sign column. And right down here on line 16, you can see this two red chevrons, two red greater than signs, saying, oh yes, this is something's going on here. And right at the bottom, you can see syntax mismatched token, mismatched closing curly brace. That's because, of course, I started typing this sort of X association 2 just to demonstrate the syntax hiding. So if I remove that and save that, why is it still saying that? Is that still okay? Let's go back in there again. Oh, don't know why that didn't disappear. However, what I want to do is to bring in a few more things here. I will go into my vimrc and store. What am I doing? There we go. It's because this keyboard I'm still not quite used to, and the tilde and the backtick are, I have to use the function layer to get them from the escape key. So that's why I keep getting it wrong at the moment. Store 19 vimrc. Where is it? Oh, of course, it's vimrc. There it is. There we go. Right. It's there we go. Right. Okay. Now I can copy these things. Wow, what a crazy few minutes. Copy those down there. Now what we've got now is, I always want to have the sign column displayed. I want to, if possible, use command completion. We know from VS Code that we can do command complete. If we go into VS Code here, we can say something association, and it gives us the possibility of saying association. There we go, association 2, for example. So that's command completion. We can get that as well because that is coming from the language server. So that's, I want to enable completion, and I want to do a few other things as well, including open the list of problems at the bottom, which is the equivalent of having, if we say view problems, the equivalent of this thing down here. Okay, so you don't have to have this, but it's to sort of to make it at least as similar to VS Code as possible, so you can see what is what, and then you can, of course, adjust to your preference. So let's just get rid of that. Let's just save that, and I've got a couple of mappings here, so I can use special key presses to go between the different errors. So let's try to go into that data model again, and Why is that not working? There we go. Okay, so we've got, let's just see. Okay, let's go into CD temp, CD episode 19, Vim, DB data model. Why is that not working? Let's just see. What have I not done? What have I not done? Oh, by the way, Mahesh is saying something. There's a new update in V4O data modeling. Learn the way to feature where you can create multiple entries. Ah, cool. Okay, that's good to know, Mahesh. That's good. Is that in UI in the UI5 itself, in the UI5 SDK? Let us know. Oh no, 5 minutes left. Can we fix this? What is going wrong? Let's have a look. We've got. Let's just have a look at. What we've got here. We've got in bundle, we've got in ALE, we've got the ALE linters, and we've got CDS, which points to that. Local projects, Vim, CDS, start, CDS, LSP. That's cool. That all looks fine. And in our projects, we've got our Vim CDS, which we've got the start, CDS, LSP. And we've got the, that is executable, isn't it? And we've got a cds.vim, which is there, which is what we just looked at. So theoretically, that should be all we need. What else do we need to do? I don't think anything. So let's just have a quick look again. If we, let's just CDS, no, we got one already. Let's go into Vim db data model.cds. Oh, there we go. Oh, it did work. Why didn't it work in Ep.19 Vim db data model.cds? I'm not sure why it's not working with that one. Unless it, oh, of course. Ah, there's no errors. That's why it's working fine. There's no errors. There we go. Oh, DJ, what a fool. Right, so let me show you this now. What we've got is a beautifully correct small CDS file. There's nothing wrong in that whatsoever. Let's just get rid of these comments here. But if I make a mistake, if I remove the E from entity, what it will show us now is more or less what it's going to show us in VS Code, which is there's an error on line 6 there. And there's an error on line 8 down there. And we can also see an ALE uses the so-called location list down here. Oh, it's in the OpenUI5 nightly build. Ah, thank you. Yes. Awesome. We can use the location list down here to move between the errors. But this tells us exactly what's going on. And that's the sort of thing. That's exactly the sort of thing that we would see. In fact, I wonder if we open this in VS Code, we get the same thing. I have no idea. Let's try it. Let's go into code here, and let's go and temp Ep.19 code there, and open the data model. No problems there so far. Oh, let's get rid of that thing. Let's save it, and now press. There we go. We get a very, very similar thing. So let's go into here. There we go. Yeah. So we've got here mismatched identifier. We've got another mismatched identifier down there, and we've got a token, and of course we've got the bookshop thing here, which is not been found, but I've got it in this thing, so that's okay. So basically. What we've got now, let's just get rid of that for a second so we can see it all. Don't save. Code, come on, where are we? What we've got is something we can really work with together in Vim. But more importantly, I think we understand a little bit more about what the language server protocol is all about. We understand a little bit more about the syntax of CDS as well by doing this, understanding what component parts make up CDS. And And it's a little bit of fun as well. And it's only one small step in improving our tooling. We didn't get round to looking at the setup for a project for answering a question, but we can do that next time. So let me know on the Slack channel whether you enjoyed that or not. In fact, let me know on the, where is it? Hands-on SAP Dev episode, hands-on SAP Dev episode feedback. There's the link. So please let me know what you thought of this, whether it was useful, whether it was too nerdy, and also let me know whether you would want to sort of work on this together. I know it's at the hour now, so I'll stop there. We'll just finish off a little bit of this on the next fortnightly midweek live stream, because on Friday we're doing this cap stuff with Java. But I hope that this has been at least something that kept you awake, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Friday. Thanks very much. Have a great afternoon, evening, and good night.